You are all welcome. In this human anatomy video series, we will be reviewing human anatomy from head to toe divided into various sections and subsections. In this series, we will be discussing anatomy of the upper limb. This will be in sections for easy comprehension, starting with the bones of the upper limb. At the end of each section, there will be tutorial or quiz questions with answers. Let's start with the scapula. The scapula is also known as a shoulder blade. It is a triangular flat bone overlying the 2nd to 7th ribs on the posterolateral aspect of the thorax. It has an anterior or costal surface and posterior surface. The costal surface is concave and constitutes of a large subscapular fossa. This serves for the attachment of subscapularis muscle. The posterior surface is convex and divided by a thick, bony projection. Spine of scapula into a small supraspinous fossa and a large infraspinous fossa. These fossae serve for muscle attachment of supraspinatus and infraspinatus muscles, respectively. The spine ends laterally as flat, expanded acromion, which forms the subcutaneous point of the shoulder and articulates with the acromial end of the clavicle, forming acromioclavicular joint. Deltoid tubercle is a prominence on the scapular spine providing point of attachment of the medial head of deltoid muscle. Other important features of the scapula include body, head, and neck. The lateral, medial, and superior borders. The superior, lateral, and inferior angles. The body of the scapula is superior and inferior to the spine, and it is entirely thin with the exception of the thicker lateral part. The lateral border runs superolaterally from the inferior toward the apex of the axilla and ends as lateral angle of the scapula. This is the thickest part of the bone where head of scapula is located. The neck of the scapula is a shallow constriction between the head and body of the scapula. The superior border is the thinnest and shortest of the three borders, and it has a suprascapular notch at the junction of its medial 2/3 and lateral third. This notch is transformed into suprascapular canal by suprascapular ligament for the passage of suprascapular nerve and vessels. The medial border of the scapula runs parallel to and lateral to the spinous processes of the thoracic vertebrae. The glenoid cavity is located on the superolateral surface of the scapula. It is a shallow, concave, oval fossa, which serves as a socket for articulation with the head of the humerus at the glenohumeral joint. The coracoid process is beak-like and superior to the glenoid cavity, and projects anterolaterally and support coracoclavicular ligament. Various muscles are attached to the scapula due to its location. On the anterior surface, there is a large subscapular fossa for the attachment of subscapularis muscle. Lateral to the fossa on the medial border of scapula is the attachment of serratus anterior muscle. The long head of triceps brachii muscle is attached to the superolateral border of the scapula inferior to the glenoid cavity. The infraglenoid tubercle, while the long head of bicep brachii is attached to the supraglenoid tubercle. As shown in the diagram, three muscles are attached to the coracoid process. Coracobrachialis and short head of bicep brachii are attached to the tip of the coracoid process, while pectoralis minor muscle is attached to the medial border and superior surface of the coracoid process. Similarly, omohyoid muscle is attached to the superior border of scapula, near the suprascapular notch. In addition, the attachment of trapezius and deltoid muscles extended from the posterior surface to anterior surface as shown in the diagram. On the posterior surface, there are prominent supraspinous and infraspinous fossae for the attachment of the supraspinatus and infraspinatus muscles, respectively. The trapezius and deltoid muscles are attached to the acromion and spine of the scapula. The diagram also shows that latissimus dorsi muscle is attached to the inferior angle, and superior to it is the attachment of teres major muscles. Teres minor muscle is attached to the middle part of the lateral border of the scapula. In addition, levator scapulae is attached to the medial border of the scapula superior to the spine. Similarly, Rhomboid minor has its attachment on the medial end of the scapular spine, while rhomboid major is attached to the medial border of scapula from the level of spine to the inferior angle. If this video is helpful, consider subscribing or clicking the like button.